Finance Collective.
Welcome back to our pre-budget special, What the Market Wants. I've been speaking with two market veterans, Nilesh Shah of Kotak Mahindra AMC and Hiren of Alchemy Capital Management. Hiren, Nilesh, thank you very much for your patience. Before we went to the break, we did discuss taxes and income assumptions of the government. Now let us discuss expenditure, as Nilesh prompted. Nilesh, what is the capital expenditure number that you will watch out for? Will the market watch for it very closely? Last year, that is, not last year really, FY23, this year it was a grand 25%. What's a credible number for FY24?
My feeling is that this is pre-election budget where generally government enhances allocation. Even though the last year's base was higher, could we target another 15 to 20% increase in allocation? And more importantly, let's focus on the execution speed. Prime Minister inaugurated Mumbai metros, but we all know at what speed Mumbai metro is being constructed. I stay in Andheri West, where East-West flyover is down since 2018. And we are spending more on fuel than what is the cost of repairing that bridge. So it's not only allocation, but also the execution, which is critical.
My sympathies for those of you who stay in Andheri. I have the monorail, so I don't complain. But, coming to CAPEX, Hiren, the CAPEX number itself, 15% would come to about 8.8 trillion. You think that's a very closely watched number? And I'll tell you why. Because there are some industrialists who say that CAPEX cycle is still not picked up. It is about to pick up, maybe in a quarter or so. And therefore, the government should show its hand and continue to chug along with CAPEX. So if it falls short of 15% or 20% that Nilesh is speaking about, will that be taken badly?
Yeah, I mean, I think in that sense, I concur with Nilesh that it's a pre-election year. We are still seeing the early signs of private CAPEX. And whether private CAPEX is starting or not starting, I think it is very, very important that we continue to spend on infrastructure, because that investment has a big multiplier effect, right? So I think anywhere between 15 to 20% is a good number to run with. And my sense is that it will be a significantly strong number in this budget as well, because you can't lose momentum on building CAPEX in this country. See, we took some very wise calls during COVID. Instead of spending money on demand creation, we largely tackled supply and spending on infrastructure.
Yes.
Had we not done that, we would have had an even deeper problem with inflation.
Yes.
And I think we should continue to spend on the supply side, on infrastructure. And I think other than infrastructure, more incentivization for private CAPEX would also be welcome, right? So just like what they've done with the PLI schemes.
Fair enough.
You need to spend 50,000 crores to spur a 5 lakh crore CAPEX, right? So the impact is much higher. So I think 15% is par for the course. 20% could be great.
Okay. And if it is buttressed with, as you say, some more incentives for PLI or, more sectors in PLI, I can see that both of you will be nodding in agreement with such schemes. But Nilesh, repeatedly, both of you are using the word pre-budget, pre-election budget. I did think of this as a pre-election budget because there is a vote on account that will still be presented in February of 2024. So do you think a typical pre-election budget will be tolerated? One with, a large amount of social sector spending, extension of subsidies. Do you think these will be tolerated?
So I think the finance minister should learn the art of communication from US Fed, of walking left and talking right. You have to do what is right for the economy from a numbers point of view, which is extra allocation to infrastructure and cutting down on wasteful expenditure, including subsidies. But in the budget speech, you can talk about, subsidies and poor and farmer and everyone else. There could be launch of newer schemes also in the budget for that thing. And clearly we are suffering today at a subdued consumption in bottom of the pyramid. So if some money is allocated towards supporting consumption at the bottom of the pyramid, market will be happy to tolerate. One more idea which finance minister should consider is to reduce the cost of borrowing for marginal and poor. They don't have access to organized financing, and they do borrow at a very, very high rate of interest from unorganized market. Like we created MSME credit guarantee scheme during COVID time. If there could be a credit guarantee scheme spread over large number of marginal borrowers, which can reduce their borrowing costs substantially, I think consumption will get supported. The bill for providing that credit guarantee scheme will be very minimal, and this will support growth.
Okay. Yeah, I guess an interest subvention and, as you say, credit guarantee could be perhaps actually welcomed, because rural consumption is something even urban India wants, which India Inc. also wants. Hiren, on that point, really, there are people who have been suggesting, forever, that the income tax thresholds need to be increased. After all, we have gone through a bout of 6 and 7% inflation. So keeping the direct tax, income tax thresholds unchanged for so many years would be unfair. Do you think that will be market positive? Because that will mean more consumption. If the income tax brackets is increased, or even that, exemption-free income tax level is increased. Do you think these are big positives for the market?
So I think, Lata, there is a case for reducing the burden on the relatively lower income or the middle income families, because clearly we see the stress when FMCG companies talk about it. The consumption at the bottom end is struggling for a while.
Yes.
Because of 2 years of COVID lockdowns, higher healthcare costs and inflation, everything put together, right? So I think some relief there is welcome. But I think that what Nilesh mentioned, right? I mean, rather than reducing your tax revenues, if you can use the balance sheet of the government to guarantee credit to the bottom of the pyramid, then you can achieve the same stimulus to consumption without actually either sacrificing revenue or spending too much, right?
Okay.
So there are smarter ways of doing that, but I completely agree. I think, in fact, I do believe and I hope that there is some amount of CAPEX which is directed towards rural infrastructure, rural housing, water schemes, and so on and so forth, so that if there is spending there, then there is a reason for people to earn higher incomes and consumption will bounce back.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you that, we are still a little muddled about the health of the consumption at the bottom of the pyramid. I mean, Asian Paints and D-Mart had me worried, but Hindustan Unilever, Havells and Polycab are indicating that looks like consumption is, not all that bad. But I guess the government will have to figure out some way of keeping consumption as well encouraged. I think that, as you both point out, could be market positive. Okay, a last final sentence from both of you. Nilesh, what would be your idea of an outstanding budget? What do you want to hear?
A finance minister betting like Surya Kumar Yadav, bowling like Umran Malik, and fielding like Ravindra Jadeja, which is increase infrastructure allocation, give fiscal prudence, and raise non-tax resources.
I mean, this guy is a market veteran. He's a tax expert like, say, Ranina, and he's a Harsha Bogle as well. Okay, Hiren, what would your idea be of what you want to see as a brilliant budget and what you definitely don't want to see?
Well, he has set a very high standards. So I'm going to just do some plain speaking. But no, I think, definitely focus on CAPEX. Second would be something in the budget I'm using an old term like investment allowance reserve or
Yes.
accelerated depreciation, something that will really get the animal spirits of private capex up and running. Because there is only that much that you can do from the government balance sheet, right? So we have to use other incentives to get capex accelerated.
Okay.
And finally, no tinkering with cap gains rates. In fact, a dream thing would be to roll back the 10% capital gains that we have on long term, and
Okay.
just have
Well,
a simple short-term capital gains tax and an STT. That's it.
okay. Fair enough. Any sector you would go long on, Hiren, before the budget?
You know what? We are long on India. We are long on the markets. I don't want to be too selective at this point in time. I'm
Okay.
fairly confident that we should have a very progressive, development-oriented budget.
Fair point. Nilesh?
I'll be echoing what Hirenbhai said, but infrastructure sector looks to be a sector to go long in anticipation of a budget which will enhance allocation to infrastructure.
With that, it's a wrap on this special broadcast on what the market wants from the budget. More news and updates follow. Stay tuned.